Hey guys, welcome to my Vermintide 2 Hero Tutorial series. Today we're going to talk about Victor Saltzpyre. Victor was in Vermintide 1 as the Witch Hunter. Now in Vermintide 2 he has 3 paths he can take, very similar to the other classes who can also take 3. The first path is unlocked at the start of the game, the Witch Hunter Captain. The second path is unlocked at level 5 when you get your Witch Hunter Captain to level 5, and when you get one of them to level 12 you unlocked the Zealot. Now, the Witch Hunter Captain is all about witch hunting. That means he can instantly slay man-sized enemies with critical hit headshots. Now, critical hits can be fed with his career skill Animosity, which boosts critical hit chance for all nearby party members for 8 seconds. So those two work very well together. You activate your career skill, you start critting more often, and you start taking out especially deadly Chaos Warriors in one hit, which is incredibly useful. He also can do additional damage to tagged enemies, and with certain passives gain health or increase attack speed for killing those tagged enemies as well. Tagging is done by pressing the T skill. It'll highlight it for the whole party. The whole party will know you want to kill something special, and when you do, you get those bonuses. Also, the Witch Hunter Captain can indefinitely block light attacks. So if you hold up your block, standard grunts will not be able to get through it unless they attack you from the back. Very, very useful. Makes him surprisingly tanky. Now we have the Bounty Hunter. Now the Bounty Hunter is all about the range damage. If you like range damage, go the Bounty Hunter. If you get a particularly good ranged weapon, he can crit every 8 seconds, which makes it that much better. Or when he kills something in melee, that will refresh this ability, so he'll be able to range crit again. So what you can do is you can weave melee combat in with your range attacks. So if you don't mind pressing the W key and switching between your weapons, then blessed shots will be particularly useful for you, as you'll be able to continually get those range crits. Now, he's got double ammunition capacity, which is especially useful for Victor as all of his weapons have low ammo. And he also has an increased reload speed, which is just icing on the cake really, because he needs to keep firing, especially in the middle of combat. His career skill, which you activate by pressing F when it's charged fully, which I'll show you very soon, fires a very powerful shot that pierces through enemies, and if you have a large group of enemies, this will go through them all. It is crazy. If you have a particular high priority target, like someone is being hooked for example, and you can't reach them or don't have the ammo, this can be pretty good as well, or against those bosses who you want to do a lot of damage to. Very useful skill. Then we have the Zealot. His passive ability is Fiery Faith, and he's all about getting to that low HP. When he's there, he'll deal an incredible amount of damage. 20% increased power when he's at 1 HP. It's quite a lot. His heavy attacks also can't be interrupted unless he is thrown. He's taken airborne. And he resists death sometimes when taking lethal damage. So if he's on 1 HP and he takes a hit that would kill him, there's a chance that he won't be killed. So that feeds into the power increase. So these work together. He also has Holy Fervor as a career skill. Victor charges forward and gains 50% increased attack speed for 5 seconds. This is quite a lot, and you'll notice the difference very quickly when you do this. You attack like an absolute madman, and there's passives that feed into this as well, which I'll go through. But first, let's start with the Witch Hunter Captain. And let's have a look at his talent. The first talent gives you increased dodge range by 10%. Dodging is done just by hitting the space bar and left to right, so that will give you an increased range if you need to get out of the line of fire. If you find yourself doing so, then that can be incredibly useful. Increases max stamina by 2. When you hold down the right click when you're holding a melee weapon, you'll see some shield icons. That's your stamina. Certain attacks will deplete it. With the Witch Hunter Captain, Light attacks will not, and you'll be able to do this indefinitely. But with extra stamina will mean extra blocking. Particularly useful in higher difficulties when you need to make sure you don't take damage. Max ammunition increased by 30%. Incredibly useful as the Witch Hunter, as certain weapons, like the repeater here, only has 20 ammo. So putting it up to 26 really increases the amount of times you can use your ranged weapons. Increases power by 25% when the party holds at least one grimoire. If you're going for those grimoires, then make sure you pick this up, because 25% increased power is crazy, guys. That is a lot of extra damage just for losing a potion slot and a little bit of max HP. Increases headshot bonus by 25%, so you'll be doing 25% extra damage if you're good at getting those headshots. If you're a headshot fiend, pick this up because that's a lot of extra damage. Let's have a look. So that's 4,400. And let's take the talent off. And 4,125. So that's quite a bit more damage. Reduces damage taken when disabled. So if you've been knocked to the ground, or you've been leapt on, or you've been taken by a hook, you'll take half damage. This will give your teammates more time to save you, so it's quite useful on those higher difficulties. Marked for death, Witch Hunt grants 10% increased attack speed when taggable enemies die. I don't think this is as good as Justice's Bounty, which gives everyone in your party 5 health every time a taggable enemy dies. This keeps your party alive, and this keeps you topped up with health, meaning you don't have to use those potions as often. It's quite useful. This might be balanced though, since this is still beta. Keep that in mind, all these abilities might change. Increases critical hit chance by 20% for 4 seconds when your taggable enemies die. This feeds into your whole crit build. So if you're going a crit build, pick this up, because 20% extra crit is a lot. Holy Cause, critical hits grant temporary health. Once again, factors into the fact that you have a lot of ways to increase your critical hit. Will mean that in those heavy fights, you'll be taking temporary health damage instead of regular health damage, because that goes down first before your actual health. So just because it says temporary doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's actually quite a good thing. Righteous Seal does the same thing, but with kills. Both of these are incredibly useful. Kills, I think, doesn't grant quite as much as your crits do. I could be mistaken, but from my testing, it was a small amount for both. Depends on what you're going to be doing more often. If you're staying at range, then Holy Cause would be better. If you're getting in there doing a lot of damage and killing a lot of grunts, then Righteous Seal would be better. Purifier, when bosses die, you gain health. It's not temporary, you actually gain it, but it doesn't overcharge you with health. So, not quite as good as these, in my opinion, as bosses will maybe show up twice, 3 times on a map maximum. So, get either Righteous Seal or Holy Cause, in my opinion, unless they balance this to be slightly different. Redoubled Purpose reduces the cooldown of Animosity by 30%. If you can reduce the cooldown of your career skill at all, it's incredibly useful. Animosity is a great skill, so Redoubled Purpose is fantastic. Increases the duration of Animosity to 12 seconds, increases it by 4 seconds. It's quite a lot, so do you want it to last longer or do you want it to come up more often? That's your choice. Fierce Auditory increases the radius by 50%. Ignore this for now until it gets buffed, because it's not quite that good. Everyone should be getting the critical hit chance if they're around you. If they're not, then I don't think they necessarily need it. Or if that extra radius is really going to hit them anyway. So, that's the Witch Hunter Captain, and this is the career skill. I'm going to press F right now. Boom. Extra crit chance. I'm going to crit much more often, as you can see. For those 8 seconds, and there it goes. Wears off. Perfect. So if I was to go up to a man-sized enemy, and I was to do that and crit their head, they would instantly die. Incredibly useful with this particular advanced class. Now, let's have a look at the Bounty Hunter. The Bounty Hunter has a lot of talents revolving around range. So you have increased reload speed, you have reduced weapon spread, which is pretty useful when you're using weapons like the recurve crossbow, who, while you're moving around, has very bad accuracy. Reduced weapon spread, you're actually hitting much more often. Vicious Virtue increases attack speed flat by 5%, so anything that you attack with, you increase that attack speed by 5%. So it's between these two in most cases. Reload speed will increase the amount of damage you can put out, but if you're being more particular with your ammo, then get Vicious Virtue, as you'll just be able to attack flat more often. Leave No One Behind increases your revive speed by 30%. If lots of people are dropping, you're on a higher difficulty, this can be useful. It increases the rate you pick someone up by a third. Could be the matter between the whole party wiping or not. So this can be incredibly useful or incredibly unuseful depending on the situation. When you have necessary means, gain 10% increased power when out of ammunition. So I'll give you an example of what this can do. It is actually quite useful if this is the build you want to go with the repeaters here. You don't have very much ammo. You only have 20, and because it's doubled, you get 40. So 40 ammo, this will go fairly quickly. So let me get down to 1, and let's have a look at how much damage I'm doing. 275 normally, and now if I use my last bit of ammo, I'm doing 300. That's quite a bit of an increase. So if that's the playstyle you're going, then that talent can be pretty useful. Crippling Strike increases power boost of critical hits by 25%. If you've gone a crit build, pick this up. You'll get a guaranteed one every 8 seconds or 7 depending on your talents. Critical hits restore 2 health. Once again, go on a crit build, definitely pick this up, because if you crit often, there's quite a few items that give you, 10% plus crit chance. If you crit often, this is going to keep you topped up. So, there we go, 2 health. Another 2 health. And that's with no crit increase. Reduces cooldown of Impatient to 7 seconds. Okay, that will mean that instead of critical hitting every 8 seconds or on melee kill, you'll reduce that to 7. So that's 1 extra second that you gain. Prize bounty, shots affected by Impatient consume no ammo. So have a look at this. Check out the icon bottom left. Bam, that's the crit. Now it's reloading. It's going to take 8 seconds. And after 8 seconds, we'll be able to crit again. Bam, another crit, guaranteed. However, if we miss the shot, okay, it's recharge. If we miss, it still goes on cooldown. So with this skill, at least you'll be consuming no ammo when you do it. That's basically every 8 seconds you gain 1 ammo if you're firing the whole time. Holy Cause, critical hits grant temporary health. We've gone through all of these before. Righteous Seal is based on kills, and this is based on boss kills. This is the same for all 3 advanced classes. If you're gonna crit build, this is the way to go with this class. Bounty Hunter, go Holy Cause, almost always. Righteous Seal is good as well if you're getting those kills. If you're gonna crit build, get Holy Cause. And critical hits restore 2 health is the way to go. Encore reduces the cooldown of Locked and Loaded by 30%. Now, once again, your career skills coming up a third quicker is always good. However, there's also double shotted, which means you fire 2 powerful bullets in a straight line instead of just the 1. And this one does it like a shotgun blast. So let me show you what the skill does. So let's say there's a whole range of enemies lined up. Pull out your sidearm and shoot through them all and do an incredible amount of damage. If it's a boss, you pull it out, you do a lot of damage to them, so it's like a quick burst damage range attack. It will hit all the way back here as well. You know, you can be almost max range. You see your friend about to drop. You know, you pull out your sidearm. You take that shot and bam, you've taken it out. You've helped your friend. And it's a fairly quick cooldown. So there's that. Now, the Zealot. The Zealot is all about taking damage, and you can see that with his talents. Holy Endurance, Stamina Regeneration will mean you'll be able to block more often. Critical hit chance, flat 5%, very, very useful. Stun duration reduction, not as useful I think as critical hit chance or your stamina regeneration, but if you're getting stunned a lot, sure, I just don't see it happen that much. No Surrender, increases power by 5% for every nearby enemy. This is incredible. That's 25% increased power if there's 5 enemies around you, which happens a lot. And especially since you wholly further into a group usually. No Surrender works very well. Flagellant, damage taken from one attack cannot exceed 25. Very useful on those high difficulties because you have very low amount of health. And taking one attack could kill you. Especially with, you know, those creatures doing quite a bit of damage, especially your specials. So you'll never be able to die in one hit with Flagellant. Suppress Pain reduces damage taken by 25% when below 30% health. That feeds into Fiery Faith. Once you're a lower health, you're taking less damage as well as dealing more damage. So it's between No Surrender and Suppress Pain in my opinion. Though on the higher difficulties and you just need to survive, Flagellant is very useful. Shield of Faith. Fiery Faith also increases block and push angle up to 50%. This is very useful if you need to block a lot and feeds into the stamina regeneration. And Flagellant if you want to go full defensive. Holy Crusader also increases power boost of critical hits by 10, so up to 50 when you're lower health. So you'll be taking less damage, doing more damage, and you'll also be dealing more damage with your crits if you've got Saint of Battle, which will stack together. Well, work together, not stack together. Undying Fervor. Fiery Faith also increases stamina by 1 up to 5, so that's 2.5 shields you'll gain when you're at lower health, so you'll be able to block more often, essentially. Holy Cause is the same, Righteous Zeal is the same, Purifier is the same. We've talked about these. Crit build, get this. If you're not going a crit build, get this. This is usually a miss in most cases. Frother increases cooldown of Holy Fervor by 30%. Once again, doing your career skill more often is very useful. Now, Pleasure from Pain, restore 2 health for each successful hit. I'll come back to this, but 2 health for each successful hit is amazing with Holy Fervor. Okay, let me show you after I talk about Blessed Fury. Increases the attack speed buff from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Incredibly useful because you'll be attacking like a fiend for 10 seconds, which is a long time. But let's have a talk about Pleasure from Pain. I'm going to use the career skill now. Press F, you charge in, and you go absolutely nuts. 2 health, 2 health, 2 health, 2 health, 2 health, 2 health. So over 5 seconds, you're probably going to get 6 to 10 HP back. So that's quite a lot. You're going to get about half your HP back on normal difficulty for having Pleasure from Pain. So it's a good way to recharge your health with your career skill. And this is a good way to deal a heck of a lot of damage. Increasing it by double. 10 seconds is a long time. So you can see Holy Fervor recharges fairly quickly. It's almost completely recharged now. I'll show you again. The problem with Holy Fervor is if you're up close, you're going to keep charging. You're going to go through them. But at the same time, you still got that attack speed buff. And that's quite a huge buff. You can see now that you don't attack nearly as fast. And those are the advanced classes. Now, let's talk about a few of the weapons that you can use. You want to be using the flail as a Zealot. Just because it's kind of his thing. It's kind of the flavor. The flail is armor piercing, as you can see. It can go through armor, and it's especially useful against shielded enemies because you do that overhanded strike like so, which goes around the shield at most times, as you can see. It sometimes AoEs, like so, but it's mostly an overhead. And the best thing about this flail is you can charge your heavy attack indefinitely. I can walk around with this charging. It's a lot slower, but I'm still charging it. And when they get close, you unleash. So I could be waiting on these stairs. A group of enemies could be coming to me. As soon as they get close, bam, they're off.
Can't argue with the results.
Let's have a look at some of the other ones. You've got your hatchet. Very simple, slower one-handed attacks. Can get through armor. It's not so good with AoE, but it can get through grunts fairly easily. You will replace this fairly quickly. Same with the one-handed sword here. Gets through rabble very quickly, but not so good against your bigger targets. Then you have the two-handed sword. Now this is the AoE king. If you need the AoE, you've got a particularly powerful gun, and that's what you're using to dish out the pain. You need something to deal with the rabble when they get close, then you pick up this two-handed sword. You can hit multiple targets with it. You can clear out all of those grunts very quickly with this two-handed sword. Keep in mind that it will not pierce armor unless you do the heavy attack. Then we have the weapon that's unique to the Witch Hunter and the Bounty Hunter, the Templar Rapier. The Templar Rapier is my go-to weapon for these two advanced classes because it has this sidearm. When you press the weapon special key, which is bound to my mouse button 3, you'll pull out a gun which has unlimited ammo, and it will do a lot more damage than your actual swings. So you want to be swinging, shooting, and this is what this weapon's about. And when you're the Bounty Hunter, like so, bottom left, impatient will proc off this. So if you are out of ammo, which happens quite a lot, you take out your melee weapon and you've still got a ranged option. This weapon is amazing, and also you can clear the rabble fairly quickly because the strikes come out quite fast. But if you come across a heavier opponent, you can charge it and pierce through their armor. It also pierces through multiple opponents when you charge it. I have to get it right. I don't think there we go, lined up properly. It does pierce through multiple opponents. Very good weapon. Boom, headshot. Get in there, do a bit more damage. Now for the range weapons, you want to either use your flintlock pistols, which I've been showing off. As a bounty hunter, you get double ammo. Usually this has 20, but while you're moving, you're using a single shot and then switching to your second, and then using another single shot, switching to your second, so you never need to actually reload. However, if you hold down right click and then hold in your left click, you will spam all of your ammo until you deplete it. This will clear out groups like nothing else, or will get through bosses like nothing else. If a boss comes to you and doesn't attack you directly, and you can line up that headshot and just lay in the hurt, they are going to drop very, very quickly. So, very useful weapon, just low ammo. Then you have the repeater, which is my go-to for the Bounty Hunter class. You have 8 rounds, but you can fire them off as quickly as you can spam your click. Does less damage than the pistols, but has a lot more ammo. If you hold down right click, you can shoot everything that's in the chamber at once, like a shotgun. So shoot 8 bullets. If I only have 3 left in the chamber, I'm going to shoot 3. Like so. Has a lot more ammo, shoots a lot faster, and is quite useful, especially if you're going to focus on being a ranged character. Then we have the recurve crossbow. This is your sniper rifle. I don't enjoy this weapon because there's not very often I need to sniper it, and it's quite difficult to land those shots. But if you're pretty good at aiming, this might be for you. However, like I showed before, the spread on this is crazy. So if you're walking around, you are not going to be able to aim very well, as you can see with the crosshairs. Then we have the repeater crossbow. This is your semi-automatic rifle, so you can move around and it's not going to change, you know, its accuracy that much, but it can fire until it runs out of ammo. And then you need to reload. The reload process is very long with this weapon. If you hold down right click, you can shoot 3 bolts instead of 1. It does have that spread, so if you aim for the head like that, you're going to hit 1, but if there's, you know, 2 guys behind him, you're going to hit those guys as well. So interesting weapon. And with Victor, you want to be going for those crits. You want to be building towards critical power or critical chance. So 6% crit chance on these flintlocks, very good. Headshot, restore stamina, very good. These kind of things is what you want with your weapons. But that has been Victor, guys. So those are the 3 advanced classes for Victor Saltzpyre. You have Witch Hunter Captain, which is a bit of a hybrid between range and melee damage. Very good at tanking as well, if that's how you want to build. Then you have the Bounty Hunter, is all about range damage. That is his thing. He's the range damage guy, and certain ways to modify the amount of range damage you do. Then you have the Zealot, who can be either a melee DPS or a melee tank, depending on how you build, but high risk, high reward class. Thanks for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun making this video and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and click that little bell below. And if you haven't already, be sure to join my Discord. It's full of fantastic, like-minded individuals, and you get to talk to me directly as well. So, I'm Potates, and I'll see you next time.